And it is 7 o'clock local time. In case you're joining us now, welcome. This is Morning Express, and today is the Friday version where we have loads lined up for you. Later on, we'll have entertainment, but now we'd like to review the week that was. And just for the benefit of those that might be joining us, a quick reintroduction of the guests that we have. And I have Honorable Fabian Muli, who's a Member of Parliament for Kangundo. We have Honorable Julius Meli, who is a Member of Parliament for Tinderet, also the Chair for Parliamentary Committee on Education. And last but not least, we have Philip Magal, who is a lawyer. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to have you. And let's review the week, and let's start off with matters education. Now, the question that we had asked earlier on is based on proposals that are coming through to try and possibly give us a solution in regards to our schools. And the question that we had asked is whether people out there feel that setting up more day secondary schools is a solution to school unrest. And I will read some of the comments that have come through. And we have Ferdinand Manuya, who says schools should instill discipline to their learners. Jude Mudeu says, I think there is absolutely no other solution other than to create and have more day schools than the schools of Paranomia by size. We also have Korir, who says, I agree, 50% might assist. And it's good that we have the chair of the Parliamentary Committee on Education, Honorable Meli. Let me start with you on possibly the findings that the committee has found so far. What is troubling our schools?
Thank you, Gitonga. I think what is troubling our school, and let me just give you a bit of history on this, that one, the school system as we have it today is a creation that we inherited from the colonial masters. But one thing that is very clear with our school setup is that our children are supposed, when they go to school, they come from different homes. And one of the biggest challenges of indiscipline, of unrest in school is indiscipline. That is one. That today, it is the school that everyone looks at as to be the only tower to discipline the child. The parent, the society, which was actually the main part of disciplining the child, has abdicated their role. Two, when you look at even the laws that we have in the country, successive amendments of the Education Acts and the Penal Code and the laws have actually handcuffed the teacher. Today, a classroom teacher cannot punish a child. He's not supposed to do corporal punishment. He's not supposed to do any other form of punishment, even the manner of kind of punishment. He's supposed to talk, to counsel, and tell the child, don't do this, don't do that, and that's the end of it.
That doesn't seem to be working.
Two, you can't suspend a child, you can't expel a child, you can't do much. So the child knows very well that this teacher is not going to do anything much. Two or three, that the society itself has become so individualized to an extent that it is your child, it is my child, it is his child. If you are going to touch my child, you should be answerable in a court of law. But previously, we used to do what we call a societal bringing up of a child, where Gitonga's child is my child, Meli's child is Fabian's child, and we take care of that child and make the child grow and be a responsible member of society. But as we move to the school setup today, it is actually a very, very difficult kind of it. Even the teacher of the 21st century, 20, 30 years to come, if this is the trend, it's
going to be a very difficult and I'll come to you on solutions, because I'm sure the committee must put a task to give us solutions, because that might be the problem. Let me come to you, Honorable Muli. Your thoughts on that? There's a general, let's say, lack of discipline in schools. However, even the cartoon of the week that we've seen right now could have a huge impact, because that cartoon was showing possibly what adults or how adults are resolving their issues when it comes to matters politics, with burning of tires and all that, because IEBC must change all those things that are precursor. Then we now have schools being burnt down.
Thank you, Michael. And first, let me respond to that contest that the school, when we get the day school, the strike will be we won't have strikes. We don't, that one does not help it. You cannot tell us we close our dorms because the students are banning the dorms. So when we don't have dorms, maybe they'll ban some things. And also, the day school are also in strike. Also, the other thing, by bringing corporal punishment, I cannot support we bring our country back. We are making laws to progress for the future generation. No, you want we go back because the law will say that when we punish them, they are not doing. Actually, by that time when we had corporal punishment, the strike were 2 men. So again now...
let me just bring you back a little bit to your days. When you were in school, did you have as many strikes as we have now?
In my school, we also had strikes. So
as many as we have now, generally?
What is happening now, it is happening at the same time. The same time, within a week, you hear many strikes happening. But in our time, they used to happen in a duration. If you see the strike of nowadays, they happen when we are toward the exam. And before I come to this one, I want to show you something which not only happening in the school, but to the community. If today you let the community live the life which is frustrated, people are frustrated. The people, they will feel they are fully frustrated in their activity, using the expressive theory, they will do what they can be happy. So if we continue making things in school where our kids, they are frustrated, our students are frustrated, if they feel they are frustrated, there's a gap between teachers and students, so these things will continue. It is we in the society, it is we in the leadership to understand that not only people in school, also people in public, they're having also this frustration. If you make laws without sanction, people don't support it. This law, nobody will follow. People will continue doing their crazy things. At the same way, if you frustrate me too much, how do what can be happy one day? I don't care what you punish me for 7 years. So it is a duty of school heads, teachers, education ministry of, my colleague who is the Department of Education, to think, what measures can we bring to the school? We bring our students together with teachers. They be in one journey, and we see also community to bring back to the school.
Okay. Yeah. Philip, your thoughts on what the problem might be?
Yes, for me, I think there is the issue of alcohol and substance abuse, which is very rampant in our schools. There is the issue of peer pressure. There is the issue to do with wrong environments in which children are growing. We know there are parents who actually actively encourage their children to engage in crime. We saw the case in Marsabit the other day. The parents have now said that the students cannot be arrested unless the whole village is arrested. I'm talking about the students who assaulted their teachers. And lastly, and most importantly for me, is politicization of secondary school and primary school education. We've gotten to a point where rallies are held in schools. We've gotten to a point where teachers are actively engaged in local politics, and that is why we see NAT now talking of delocalization. I mean, each and every Kenyan is subject to transfer. When you sign your employment contract, one of the terms is that you are willing and able to work anywhere in the country. Why is it now that head teachers want to work in their home districts or in their home counties, and when they are transferred, then students strike? I don't think those children just wake up one day and decide to touch the dormitory because they love their teacher so much. It is because they are instigated, they are incited to do that. And that is where the government needs to focus on. Somebody wants to stay in his country, in his county. Somebody wants to stay in a particular school because it has a lot of resources. And once he's transferred, he has these people on the ground inciting students. And that is why we see that it is especially schools where principals were transferred that we are now seeing fires being lit up.
Okay. And Honorable Meli, one of the issues that has been raised as a cause is the delocalization. And the issue might not be per se the delocalization, but how it has been done. There doesn't seem to be a strategy that was employed. Maybe stakeholders were not consulted long enough. We've had cases of people who maybe have a year or two to retire and have been moved to another area. Do you think this could be a cause of the unrest? Because what that does, it leaves the institution under leadership that is new, that has not understood or has not gelled with the students. Could this be one of the problems that we have?
I really don't. I don't agree that delocalization has caused a strike, in the sense that delocalization started way back in 2015. When this process was started, and actually this is a process where it was actually mooted by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission and even the presidency, that as Kenyans, we need to integrate and move across the country. And one of the best areas where integration and cohesion can be done is even in the education subsector. And all Kenyans, nurses, engineers, DCs, everyone is moving across the country. From 2015 up to now, the delocalization has been going on. Over 1,000 principals or 2,000 principals have been moved. It's only that 3 schools that have been on strike. If you look at those particular schools, it is not that the students are saying there is delocalization. They might be having an issue with a particular principal, a particular headmistress. They have been having a particular issue with management styles of that particular school. Because of the 3 schools that we have, a number of them, their head teachers have been there. So where does the localization come in? And 3, when you look at the policy per se, the stakeholders were involved. I want to look at, if you look at the CBA they signed in 2013, 2014, NAT, and Teacher Service Commission. One of the aspects that was supposed to be actually dealt with was delocalization. And actually it was there.
So for you, it's not a cause, it should not be a cause of concern?
It isn't a cause of concern. However, there are certain issues that have been raised as a result of this. The issue of sickness, where you don't need to delocalize sick and ailing principals to those who are of age. And as a committee, we brought the Teacher Service Commission before us, and we asked them to not delocalize individuals who are beyond 57 years. And we agreed on that. Those who are diabetic, who are very sickly, take them to areas within town if they need to be delocalized, so that they cannot be attended medically. So in any case, the causes of strikes are not, and the solution is not going to be even the day school. I agree with my friend here, because the solution to strikes and unrest in school is management, it is order, it is actually let the schools be run very well and discipline be instilled.
All right, Philip, let me come to you. There was also a proposal to have one uniform for all the students. And this, of course, apparently was to deal with the fact that some uniforms have morphed over time to a point where you cannot even tell if this is a student or they're not, such that they're able to, you know, basically disappear into crowds where you'd confuse them for something else. Do you think that's a way to go?
No, I think that is the most absurd idea I've heard of in a long time. I mean, we all agree that there are different students from different backgrounds. Even if we were to have all schools wearing the same uniform, of course, one will go to Woolworth to get the son's uniform, another one will go to Gikomba to buy second-hand. And I mean, I don't see what we can achieve with that. You can imagine the confusion it would create in a music festival and other gatherings where students are involved. You won't even know which. Now the buses are painted the same. There's
students will end up going in wrong buses.
You can even get into the wrong bus. And
okay.
Yes, it's needless.
All right, I want us to finish on matters education. Let me have you have the last say.
I think on the uniform, let me just make
a
comment. A quick one. Actually, it's very absurd. We can't have the whole nation in green or our whole nation in blue. It is not possible. And 2, a uniform is a matter of the parent and the school. The parent will say, and the school stakeholders will say, our uniform, you know, is the aspiration of the child. It gives the identity of the school. How then would the whole nation become one school? That's it. Okay. It's not possible.
Your closing remarks in terms of a solution for this, Honorable Muli, and I want us to move on to something else. But your thoughts in terms of how do we deal with this school unrest?
Thank you, Michael. You know, one thing we need to understand how school is made. A school is not made for students or people and teachers. School is made with BOM, teachers, non-staff, and students. BOM will send the community. Teachers are there for the students. So we need to ask ourselves, is this composition enough when you remove just one person to say now the department cannot work? First, I'm going that again to say that a decolonization make the school go to strike. No, it can only raise the temperature. The temperature might be negative or positive because you don't know who is coming. So given that composition, one unit when it's out does not mean the other groups cannot work. So it is we to ask ourselves, these people are striking when we are heading up to exam. Is it that students are scared for exam? Is it that there's somebody inciting them to do the exam? And then also we need to understand some information, whether out the DKIC enough, whether they are true. So we need to have proper investigation. Then we make a solution, a permanent solution. If exam, they are giving student fear, what can we do about this exam?
All right, and that's where we're going to wind up Matters Education. But of course, keep the discussion online going. And remember, the question that we're asking you is whether you feel having more day schools would be a solution to have school unrest come to an end. Philip Magal, let me start with you on the next item that we looked at this week, and that is governors seeking immunity. And their reason is, one, on the backdrop of Ojabong being arrested. They say that it was done in a very inhumane manner. It did not meet, his position in terms of how they did it. It was, what would I call it, embarrassing for governors to do that. So they are basically seeking immunity from prosecution while in office. Your thoughts as a lawyer?
That is another ridiculous idea as well. I mean, we are all equal before the law. That a person who is arrested in Korogocho or Kibera is no different from the governor. They are being taken through the due process. And we know what it involves. You have to be arrested, you have to be investigated, and eventually be arraigned in court. I will agree that it might have been needless to put him on cuffs because he posed no danger to anyone. But that said, I think the idea that they should be immune to prosecution would totally, derail our efforts to have an orderly society. These are people who are known for abuse of office. Some of them have been accused of high levels of corruption. Some of them are known to be, criminals. You can imagine granting such an individual immunity for 5 or 10 years. It would be chaos all over.
Yes. Honorable Meli, your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think the immunity as by the Constitution and the law is actually the president. And I want to say that the governors are actually state officers. They perform particular functions. They are supposed to be prosecuted. They are supposed to be answerable. And when we are going to say they are immune, then after the governors, another group of people say, even us, we need to be
well, according to them, they say that the national government is using state resources and forces to harass them. And maybe there has been that, let's say, cold relationship between the county governors and national government. Is there a possibility that national government is embarrassing them? And the reason, or the case they use, is the case where CSs have been treated differently when they are under scrutiny, whereas you've seen how Ojamong was arrested compared to some of the CSs who their ministries are under scrutiny, but they still continue in office.
Yes, and I think that one doesn't call for immunity. It actually calls for the way we handle them. Actually, we need to be handling the way we handle, not even governors alone, even members of parliament, even the public, the people, the state agencies need to arrest the individual because the law says you are innocent until proven what? Guilty. So you need to be treated with humane. Even if you are arresting somebody in Kibera, in Korokocho, the police don't need to embarrass everyone and
treat you as though you're guilty.
As though you are guilty. No, it applies to all Kenyans.
All right,
and doesn't mean that they need to be immune.
Philip, I'll come to you on what the law actually says, because this is also a good point to educate Kenyans on their civil rights in regards to how you should be arrested. But maybe let me first of all hear what you have to say about the governor's immunity.
Article 143 is the one give the president and that office that immunity. Even our deputy president has no those immunities. And then now we are going to appoint that to extend it too far to the governors. The only thing I can tell governors, let them fight for independence of institutions. If they can stand and fight for the independence of institutions, people will see the right of progressiveness of the law, because the challenge we have in this country, some institutions are not independent. The independence are being threatened actually in their operation, because if you are targeted, that institution gets frustrated. So we cannot jump Article 143 from even deputy president to go to governors. Thank you.
All right, I think generally you're in agreement that it's not going to happen. But Philip, for the sake of civil education, when being arrested, must you be cuffed? I mean, there is one of the things that they pointed out here. Ojamong brought himself. He, handed himself over to the authorities. Why cuff him?
Yes, that was really unnecessary. We have Article 49 and 50 of the Constitution, which provides for the rights of the arrested and the right to fair trial, which basically, once you're arrested, first of all, a police officer is supposed to inform you that you've been arrested and the reason for the arrest. Nowadays, and I have to commend the police for this, it has gotten to a level where you are called and asked to report to the police station. It's not a matter of anymore of being ambushed at your home or place of work and bundled into a Land Cruiser and taken to the police station. Is it necessary to curfew you? Of course, if you are violent, then it might be necessary. But then if you are complying with lawful orders, there is no reason to curfew. And once you are in the police cells, again, you should not be held for more than 24 hours. Of course, we've seen police, again, misusing this by arresting people on Fridays, keeping you till Mondays, because then they know they cannot take you to court. But we have very elaborate and comprehensive procedural rights which are meant to protect individual, and the most important of which is that we are all innocent until we are otherwise proven guilty.
All right, and I want us now to look at another thing, and this is, well, the headline for the nation today, and that is the handshake being given to us in doses in what Raila exposes state of the handshake emerges. Now, I'll start with you, Honorable Meli, on the direction it's taking, given that it has been shrouded with a lot of mystery, this particular handshake. But, of course, details coming out slowly as to why it was necessary for the president, the two principals, let me say, to leave out even their very deputies, given the sensitivity of this particular issue. But, of course, the question being, is this a benefit to Kenya at the end of the day?
Thank you so much. And I think I want to say, one, that a handshake should benefit Kenyans. First of all, we've seen the peace, the tranquility. Before the handshake, we had the street fires, the running battles, and all these others. But now we have seen the peace, that is there. Two, we also want to see that the handshake translates into development, to translate to development of service delivery across the country. It is not a handshake of politics. It is going to be a handshake to see that now the Jubilee administration have the peace, they have the time to deliver the big four agenda. They have the time now to ensure that the services that they promised the Kenyans are delivered. So to me, the handshake is actually a good benefit, and I want to thank the president for that.
Okay.
I want to say that the president has done us a lot of service by making sure that we have it, but we need to caution Kenyans not, and more so politicians, not to bring politics into the handshake. Yes.
All right. Honorable Muli, we can be very happy about the gains that we're making now, and some of them have been highlighted by Mheshimiwa here, and that is the peace that we feel. It came down. But forget the bigger wins that we need to have as a country. For instance, electoral injustice, because those are some of the things that made this country go to the verge of almost burning. Matters to do with inclusion and equity. Those are bigger wins that Kenyans have been fighting for since independence. Now, with a handshake, how does this progress so that we do not lose sight of those? Because if we can have the smaller wins, like I've said here, which is peace, which is good, but come 2022, we could end up being where we were again, like we have done many times.
Sure, thank you. And I like the way you have put it because, one, the handshake gave us inclusivity. There have been a cry about equitable balances of things in this country. Because like we come from a campaign where there was a Jubilee and a NASA. Those were now the top campaigning organs in this country in 2017. It looked like Jubilee was from certain region and NASA from certain region. But now when we have these leaders together, it gives what we call inclusivity, and it looks now to give equitable distribution of resources. But now the question is, what we are doing today, is it going to give us a good future? Is it going to give us a bad future? This is why I'm saying this handshake will start serving these injustices. Something like a IBC, the commissioner should have gone home a long time and established the IBC at the right point, because we are looking 2022, we are going to election. But now when we are in 2020 or 2021, that is the time now the fight will come. Let's now establish IBC. If you put IBC commissioners in 2021, the staff in the office, they have not even worked with them. They don't know the staff, they don't know the logistic of the when you put them in 2021. Again, in terms of population census, it was not done at the time when they were in the office. So I'm saying that this injustice should be served now. We don't need to know this Ulambalo is contesting in 2020. Okay, good. Politics should start today. Because in Kenyan culture, when you eat lunchtime, you start looking what you eat in the dinner. So despite that, the politics has started. But the question is, what about land injustice? What about equitable distribution of resources? What about that preparedness that this thing cannot come? And actually, why I'm sticking high BC commissioners, this is the most institution which made Kenya to smoke fire. This institution is the first institution which I want this handshake to sit down and bring a composition which touches everywhere in the country. If we establish a good IBC now, we are sure 2022 we are good to go. But we wait 2021, so and so should go, so and so should go. The fight started.
All right, Philip, electoral injustice, inclusivity, corruption, high cost of living, the state of IEBC, these are issues that we seem to have put to the back burner. And we're not very vocal about them right now in terms of politics. And the handshake was supposed to, hopefully, deal with some of this.
Yes.
Lest we forget.
Honorable Raila stated that with the handshake, they agreed with the president to talk. It was not a talk in itself, but they agreed to talk. And we expect that better things will come from their continual engagement. One, we've already seen that the fight against corruption, has taken off. Hopefully, it is, those culpable will see inside jail. There is the issue of inclusivity and equal distribution of wealth, which has been the main cause of all the strife within the country. We need to see, if you look at the way Jubilee was constituted and the way NASA was, those were tribal outfits. And that is, to me, the handshake has had the effect of changing the way Kenyans perceive their leaders and perceive politics. One day we will be killing each other, the next day these people will shake hands and everything changes. Kenyans need to digest that and realize that there is more to politics than individuals, there is more to life than parties. And come 2022, I hope we'll vote differently. Recently, there's been an attempt to politicize the corruption fight. There's been an attempt to politicize the handshake. But we've seen that this week has been quiet. I hope, like they say,
it's not the calm before the storm.
Yes, or kimeeleweka, that it is about the big four, that it is about development. It is not about the 2022
All right.
election.
And gentlemen, that's basically been what has been highlighted this week. So I want to get your closing comments. Each give you maybe a minute and a half or so. Honorable Meli, starting with you, your closing comments, generally wrapping up what has been happening this week and your advice to Kenyans so far.
Yes, my advice to Kenyans is especially on education, matters education, that really we need to take the discipline of our children and we need to take what is going on in our schools seriously. And I just want to say that schools are actually where we breed the future generations. And if they are going to go wrong, then the future generation will also go wrong.
Is at risk.
Yes.
Honorable Muli?
Thank you. I'm happy. I'm also going to thank my people of Kangundo and also Kenyan citizens. And I say that if today we live observing our moral rights, there won't be any crime. So we don't need to push too much in making laws or trying to bring the ways to arrest people to do what. We only need to tell people everybody to observe his moral rights and the society will be good and everybody to work for the best of tomorrow.
All right.
Personally, I would like to speak to the students out there. I would like to remind them of a tragedy that happened in a school called Kianguli. I think it was in the year 1998 or 1999, where two students set a dormitory on fire and killed almost 40 other students. And I think those two students are still in jail to date. That torching of a dormitory might seem like heroic at the moment, but it might lead to very, very dire consequences. All right. Think about your education, think about your future.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. And with me was Philip Magal, who is a lawyer. We also have Honorable Fabian Muli, Member of Parliament, Kangundo, and Julius Meli, Member of Parliament, Tinderet. Thank you for reviewing the week for us. And a quick reminder of that question that we are running and the conversation conversation continues. Do you think setting up more day secondary schools is the solution for the school unrest? Do you think that that's a solution? I'll read some of your comments that are coming through. Augustine Kimtai says, yes, that is the best idea. It will enable parents to monitor their children, and the greatest of all is paying fees, 5,000 per year. Okay, we have Kamwana Kawairimo, who says, no way, that is not a solution. We also have, let me see if I have another one, Ferdinand Manuya, who says schools should be, or rather, schools should instill discipline in their learners. Keep the conversation going on online as we take a break right here on Morning Express. But do stay with us. We have stories that are making headlines. Also, later on, we do have the entertainment segment where we'll be reviewing what we call hot topics, whatever has been hot. Feel free to let us know what has been hot for you this week as we take that break now. We'll be right back with more stories making headlines.